From translation, RSV Revised Standard Version, this 136th day of the year, today we are reading passages 2 Chronicles 21-24, 2 Chronicles chapter 21, verses 1 to 20. Then Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And Jehoram his son reigned in his place. He had brothers, the sons of Jehoshaphat, Azariah, Jehiel, Zechariah, Azariahu, Michael, and Shephatiah, all the sons of Jehoshaphat king of Israel. Their father gave them many gifts of silver, gold, and precious things, with fortified cities in Judah. But he gave the kingdom to Jehoram, because he was the firstborn. When Jehoram had taken over the kingdom of his father, and had made himself strong, he killed all his brothers with the sword, and some of the princes of Israel also. Jehoram was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. He walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as the house of Ahab had done, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. Yet the Lord would not destroy the house of David, because of his covenant with David, and because he had promised to give a lamp to him and to his sons forever. In his days Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah, and made a king over themselves. Then Jehoram crossed over with his commanders and all his chariots. And he rose by night and smote the Edomites who had surrounded him and the captains of the chariots. So Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah to this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time, because he had forsaken the Lord, the God of his fathers. Moreover, he made high places in the hill country of Judah, and led the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and made Judah go astray. And a letter came to him from Elijah the prophet, saying, Thus says the Lord, the God of David your father, because you have not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat your father, or in the ways of Asa king of Judah, but have walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and have made Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to play the harlot, as the house of Ahab did, and also have killed your brothers of your father's house, who were better than yourself. Behold, the Lord will bring upon you a great plague, and upon your descendants, and upon your wives, and upon all your possessions, and you yourself will have a great sickness with a disease of your bowels, until your bowels fall out by reason of the disease day by day. And the Lord stirred up the spirit of the Philistines against Jehoram, and the Arabians who were near the Ethiopians. They came up against Judah, and invaded it, and carried away all the possessions that were found in the king's house, and also his sons and his wives, so that no son was left to him except Jehoahaz, the youngest of his sons. After all this the Lord struck him in his bowels with an incurable disease. And after 2 years, when his bowels had come out because of the disease, the Lord gave him rest from his diseases. But he died in great agony, and his people made no fire in his honor, like the fire in honor of his fathers. He was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he departed with no one's regret, and they buried him in the city of David, but not in the sepulchres of the kings. He was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he died, being brought to great suffering by a disease of his bowels, and his people made no fire in his honor, like the fire in honor of his fathers. 2 Chronicles chapter 22, verses 1-9. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, his youngest son, king in his place, for the band of men which came with the Arabians to the camp had slain all the older sons. So Ahaziah the son of Jehoram king of Judah reigned. Ahaziah was 42 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, and did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, as the house of Ahab did, for he was son-in-law to the house of Ahab. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, as the house of Ahab had done. For they were his counselors, after the death of his father, through the counsel of the servants of Ahab, to his destruction. He followed their counsel, and went with Joram the son of Ahab king of Israel to war against Hazael king of Aram at Ramoth-Gilead. And the Syrians wounded Joram. Then Joram returned to be healed in Jezreel, because of the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael king of Aram. And Ahaziah the son of Jehoram king of Judah went down to see Joram the son of Ahab in Jezreel, because he was sick. The destruction of Ahaziah was of God by coming to Joram. For when he came, he went out with Joram against Jehu the son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to destroy the house of Ahab. And when Jehu was executing judgment upon the house of Ahab, he found the princes of Judah and the sons of the brothers of Ahaziah, who were serving Ahaziah, and he slew them. Then he sought Ahaziah himself, and they captured him. He was hiding in Samaria. And they brought him to Jehu and slew him, and they buried him, for they said, He is the son of Jehoram, who sought your life. But the house of Ahaziah had no one able to rule the kingdom. 2 Chronicles chapter 23, verses 1-21. But in the 7th year Jehoiada took courage, and made a covenant with the commanders of hundreds, Azariah the son of Jeroham, Ishmael the son of Jehohanan, Azariah the son of Obed, Maaseiah the son of Adiah, and Elishaphat the son of Zichri. And they went round through Judah, and gathered the Levites out of all the cities of Judah, and the heads of fathers' houses out of Israel, and all the leaders of the people, and they came to Jerusalem. And all the assembly made a covenant with the king in the house of God. And Jehoiada said to them, Behold, the king's son shall reign, as the Lord has promised concerning the sons of David. This is the thing that you shall do. 1/3 of you, of the priests and of the Levites who are coming on duty on the Sabbath, shall be gatekeepers, and 1/3 shall be at the king's court, and 1/3 at the gate of the foundation. And all the people shall be in the courts of the house of the Lord. Let none enter the house of the Lord, except the priests and the Levites who minister. Let them enter, for they are holy, but all the people shall keep the charge of the Lord. The Levites shall surround the king, every man with his weapons in his hand, and whoever else enters the house shall be put to death. Be with the king when he enters, and when he goes out. The Levites and all Judah did according to all that Jehoiada the priest commanded. Each of them took his men, those who were to come in on the Sabbath, with those who were to go out on the Sabbath, for Jehoiada the priest did not dismiss the divisions. And Jehoiada the priest gave to the captains of hundreds the spears, and the large shields, and the helmets, and all the weapons of David, which the priest had dedicated in the house of God. And he set all the people, each man with his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the temple to the left side of the temple, around the king and the altar and the temple. Then they brought out the king's son, and put upon him the crown and the insignia, and made him king. Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and said, Long live the king. When Athaliah heard the noise of the guard and of the people, she went into the house of the Lord to the people. And she looked, and behold, the king was standing by the pillar, as was custom, and the captains and the trumpets were beside the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced, and blew trumpets. Then Athaliah rent her clothes, and said, Treason, treason. Then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds who were set over the army, and said to them, Bring her out between the ranks, and whoever follows her, kill with the sword. For the priest said, Let her not be put to death in the house of the Lord. So they laid hands on her, and she went through the entrance of the horses' gate into the king's house, and they killed her there. And Jehoiada made a covenant between himself and all the people, and between all the king, that they should be the Lord's people. Then all the people went to the house of Baal, and tore it down, and broke in pieces its altars and its images, and killed Mattan the priest of Baal before the altars. And Jehoiada appointed the oversight of the house of the Lord to the Levitical priests, to whom David had made distributions of gifts for the service of the Levites, to offer the burnt offerings of the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and singing, as David had appointed. And he set the gatekeepers at the gates of the house of the Lord, that none who was unclean should enter. And he took the captains of hundreds, and the nobles, and the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought the king down from the house of the Lord, and came through the upper gate to the king's house, and set the king on the royal throne. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet, but Athaliah was slain with the sword at the king's house. 2 Chronicles chapter 24, verses 1 to 27. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba. Joash did what was right in the eyes of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada took for him 2 wives, and he had sons and daughters. After this Joash decided to restore the house of the Lord. He gathered the priests and the Levites and said to them, Go out to the cities of Judah, and gather money from all Israel to repair the house of your God from year to year, and see that you do it promptly. But the Levites did not do it promptly. And the king summoned Jehoiada the chief and said to him, Why have you not required the Levites to bring in from Judah and Jerusalem the tax levied by Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the assembly of Israel, for the tent of the testimony? For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, had broken into the house of God, and had used for the Baals all the vessels of the house of God. And the king commanded, and they made a chest, and set it outside the gate of the house of the Lord. And a proclamation was made throughout Judah and Jerusalem, that the people should bring in to the Lord the tax which Moses the servant of God laid upon Israel in the wilderness. And all the princes and all the people rejoiced, and brought in, and cast into the chest, until they had finished. Whenever the chest was brought to the king's overseers by the Levites, and when they saw that there was much money, the king's secretary and the chief priest's officer came and emptied the chest, and took it, and carried it to its place. So they did day after day, and gathered money in abundance. The king and Jehoiada gave it to those who did the work of the service of the house of the Lord, and they hired masons and carpenters to restore the house of the Lord, and also workers in iron and bronze to repair the house of the Lord. The men did the work faithfully. And those who were over them were Jahath and Obadiah of the Levites, of the sons of Merari, and Zechariah and Meshullam of the sons of Kohath, to direct the workmen in the house of God. And the others of the Levites, all who were skilled with instruments of music, were over the bearers of burdens, and directed all who did the work in every kind of service. And the Levites assigned to the Levites to help in the work, and the men did the work faithfully with their assistants under the direction of Jehoiada. And when they had finished, they brought the rest of the money before the king and Jehoiada, and with it were made vessels for the house of the Lord, vessels for the service and for the burnt offerings, and ladles and vessels of gold and silver. And they offered burnt sacrifices in the house of the Lord, continually all the days of Jehoiada. But Jehoiada grew old and was full of days, and he died at the age of 130 years. And they buried him in the city of David among the kings, because he had done good in Israel, and with his God. Now after the death of Jehoiada, the princes of Judah came and did obeisance to the king. And the king hearkened to them. And they forsook the house of the Lord, the God of their fathers, and served the Asherim and the idols. So wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem because of their guilt. And a prophet of the Lord came to Zechariah the son of Jehoiada the priest, and said to him, Thus says the Lord, Why do you transgress the commandments of the Lord, so that you cannot prosper? Because you have forsaken the Lord, he has forsaken you. But they conspired against him, and by command of the king they stoned Zechariah in the court of the house of the Lord. Thus Joash the king did not remember the kindness which Jehoiada, his father, had shown to him, but slew his son. And when he died he said, The Lord look upon it and require it. At the turn of the year the army of Aram came up against Joash. They came to Judah and Jerusalem, and destroyed all the princes of the people from among the people, and sent all their spoil to the king of Damascus. Though the army of the Aram had come with a small force of men, the Lord gave a great army into their hands, because they had forsaken the Lord, the God of their fathers. So they executed judgment upon Joash. When they had departed from him, leaving him in great pain, his servants conspired against him because of the blood of the sons of Jehoiada the priest, and slew him on his bed, and he died. And they buried him in the city of David, but they did not bury him in the tombs of the kings. And those who conspired against him were Zabad the son of Shimrath, an Ammonite, and Jehozabad the son of Shimrath, a Moabite. Now concerning his sons and the great deeds which he did, and the rebuilding of the house of God, and the things that he did, and all his might, and how he warred and how he defeated Aram, behold, they are not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah. But Amaziah his son reigned in his place.